Before we get into any market analysis, President Goodluck Jonathan adopting a pretty harsh stance with Nigeria's football team, suspending the team from playing at international matches for the next 2 years. What's the feeling on the ground like at the moment around that decision?
Hello, good morning. Thank you for having me. It's a general consensus that the Nigerian team did not perform well at the ongoing World Cup. But however, there are divergent views about the 2-year ban on Nigerian team playing on any game in international communities. Some people felt it's rather too harsh on them. Some people felt, well, the female team are doing well at the moment. Does it mean that Nigerian, irrespective across board, will not even participate in any team in the next 2 years? Why other views are of the opinion that, yeah, the ban should actually be restricted to the team to enable them put their house in order. But then, as events will unfold, we will know what exactly the President, Goodluck Jonathan, is actually planning to do.
Well, certainly stiff repercussions then. It will be interesting to see if there's actually follow through with that decision, because I'm sure FIFA is going to have something to say about this. Back to the markets, we saw the NSE index down 2.2% for the quarter, and some saying a bit disappointing after investor expectations from the asset management company bill. Of course, we're still waiting for President's signature on that. What's your view on the first half and the performance we've seen on the Nigerian bourse thus far?
Yeah, absolutely. As you mentioned, the Alishia index depreciated by about 2% in Q2. That means reversing part of the gains that the market booked in first quarter of the year, appreciating by about 24%. Year to date, now in the first half of the year, the market appreciated about 21.88%. The result was, I mean, it's very decent performance if you compare it with where we were coming from this time last year. But however, going forward, we think a number of factors will influence the performance of the market. We think that President assent to the AMCON bill, as you mentioned, may have some effect on the market, positive effect of the market. We expect that the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria will meet next week, Monday. Investors are waiting patiently to review the outcome of the meeting and see how government, as Central Bank, can actually once again encourage banks to begin to lend. Yeah. So these are the issues, and again, very soon we'll begin to receive Q2 report from how this coded company. We think is going to be an improvement over Q1, and majorly from the banks as well, main recovery from the losses they recorded last year. So we think all these factors will contribute to the performance of the market in second half of the year. So by and large, we expect that there will be a better performance than the Q2 report that we have.
Well, for now, back to the present. I mean, we saw sentiment shift to the sell side in the banking sector yesterday. Again, are we just looking at the effects of a very unsure and tentative market here?
Yes, the banking subsector, some of them recorded loss yesterday, and while some the appreciation, especially for the stocks that are going to, there are troubled banks actually. But you know, there are news here and there that there are a number of foreign investors who are expressing interest in buying over the troubled banks. We think as the information becomes clearer, there are reports that some of Nigerian banks are very risky. Some of them we do not agree with them anyway. We know there are risks inherent in some of these investment banks already, but we think that there are prospects in the Nigerian banking. We just want better regulation, better supervision, which some of these, which the current central bank leadership is trying to enthrone in the Nigerian banking industry. So by and large, there are potentials, there are opportunities in the banking industry going forward.
Well, what's interesting, though, is that we are starting to see some of the bigger and healthier banks coming under pressure here. I mean, First Bank was one of those tumbling during the session yesterday, despite re-entries, having stemmed somewhat off the slide. We saw that index, that counter drop 2.4%. What's your view on the value that's on offer?
Yes, one of the issues that First Bank has now, which analysts like myself have been, particularly concerned about, is a large number of shares the bank has in issue. Currently, the bank has over 32 billion shares in issue, following the bonus of 148 it declared last financial year, and that means that before First Bank can actually declare ₦1 dividend, you must make over 32 billion naira. All right, and that's huge given the current situation. Q1, the bank reported about 12 billion naira. Given that run rate, you expect that maybe about 36 billion naira to end the year. But then it's a bit, it's possible, but then investors are a bit wary. This is a bank who was known for, generous dividend policy. Before now, you give over ₦1 dividend. I think in 2008, the bank gave about over ₦1 dividend, but it is becoming extremely difficult now for them to do that, given the enlargement of shares in use. But in terms of the management of the company, the strategic objective of the company, I think they are on track, but investors are just a bit wary about the ability of the bank to give, good dividend as it used to, and that's why you are seeing in the share price.
Well, talking about results, I mean, we had the market not too happy, it seems, with the full year numbers that were released by Dangote Sugar during the session yesterday. What's your overall view there and expectations in terms of trade for Dangote Sugar today?
The Dangote Sugar, as you mentioned earlier, gave a dividend of ₦1. Turnover was barely flat, about 12% appreciation growth over what it recorded in the previous year. PBT went down significantly, over 30%. The same thing with PAT. Investors are not particularly very happy about that. But this trend we noticed right from Q2 report, and the company came up to say that the impact of the current economic crisis and the rising price of sugar, that's what we are seeing there. PBT margin, PAT margin dropped from about over 30% to about, below about 20% right now. So investors are not really very happy about that. But then if you still look at the dividend that they paid, of course we expect it from them, because it's almost the greater part of the shareholding is held by Dangote Industry, about 70%. So we expect good dividend from them. So the dividend is still higher than what the depositors would get from placing their money in money market at the moment. So, but then we expect going forward that the result will be, the market will trade it flat. So we are waiting the management of the company to still come up to tell us what they want to do to grow revenue and to delight investors going forward.
Detail on all fronts. That's what investors in this market are all after.